The nation continues to react to Saturday's shocking fatal shooting by federal officers of 37-year-old intensive care nurse Alex Pretti. It's the second fatal shooting in Minneapolis by immigration agents caught on bystander video this month. And those videos and witness testimony contradict Trump administration claims that Pretti was a domestic terrorist intending to massacre officers. In fact, the video shows Pretti holding only a phone in his hand before at least 6 officers tackled him, pinned him to the ground, and after one of the officers removed a handgun from Pretti, who had a permit to carry a concealed weapon, officers fired what appeared to be 10 shots, killing him. An eyewitness said in a court document that Pretti was not even facing the agents when they grabbed him, that, quote, it didn't look like he was trying to resist, just trying to help a woman up. Meanwhile, congressional leaders from both parties are challenging the Trump administration's account and calling for cooperation between federal and state investigators, but the administration so far is blocking Minnesota authorities from conducting their own review in defiance of a court order. We welcome your thoughts now about this latest shooting in Minneapolis, thoughts you have about ICE's work here in Houston, how the Trump administration is handling these shootings, and immigration enforcement in general, or anything else on your mind surrounding this story. You can call us at 713-440-8870. You can email talk@houstonmatters.org. You can also comment on the live video feed on Houston Public Media's YouTube channel. And as we await those questions and comments, we are joined now by Nancy Sims, political science lecturer at the University of Houston. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning, Craig.
What was your first reaction when you saw news and the video of the killing of Alex Pretti in Minneapolis on Saturday?
It was painful, Craig. It's disturbing to watch American citizens be shot dead in the streets of the nation's cities.
This comes just weeks after another U.S. citizen, Renee Good, was shot and killed by federal immigration and customs enforcement officers. Both victims were U.S. citizens engaging in what they saw, at least as community protection work. From a political standpoint, how does the killing of American citizens by federal agents during immigration operations change the conversation, or does it?
I don't think it changes the conversation a great deal, Craig. I mean, Americans are so polarized at this point. We'll all watch those videos with our bias built in. So you want to say and believe that everybody's seeing the same thing, but we see it differently, even with our eyes watching it from the same video.
From a political perspective, some on the right argue this is precisely what voters wanted: aggressive enforcement of immigration, no matter the cost. Others maybe think to themselves, this is not exactly what I voted for. Are there indications that among the Trump administration's most fervent supporters that maybe they're starting to see lines crossed that, at the very least, maybe they didn't intend?
I think so. You're hearing a few members of Congress. I've particularly seen folks who are not up for re-election in 26 that have announced their retirements or are not seeking re-election make some bold comments out of the Republican side. But I think we also have to remember last week, it wasn't just the shooting of Alex Pretti. It was also the 5-year-old boy captured from his school and wearing his little bunny hat, looking like any one of America's children. And I think, again, people reacted adversely to that. Yes, we want you to arrest the criminals. We want you to arrest people with criminal charges. That was what Trump talked about the most. And I think when people see a 5-year-old boy picked up from school, he is not a hardened criminal. We all know that. So I think that's where the public's getting a little more uncomfortable. It's, you can say a protester deserved it. You can justify a lot of things, but it's even worse, I think, when you see our children caught up in this.
Let's take a couple of calls, and Nancy, I'll just ask you to listen in and maybe comment if you have any thoughts on what they have to say. Let's start with Thomas in Montgomery County. Thomas, what's your question or comment?
Well, it seems like the ICE agents are trigger happy. They want to display their power. Are these guys wearing badges? 'Cause if not wearing badges, they shouldn't be having access to a gun. And I just think they're trigger happy. The NYPD years ago, they were trigger happy too. They saw this guy walking on the street. They said he had a gun in his hand. He was trying to get into his own house with a house key, and he mistook the house key for a gun. His name was Amadou Diallo. They put 39 bullets into him. He was just trying to get into his own house. He was doing nothing. Hard-working immigrants, and it outraged the entire city for years.
All right.
So just as trigger happy. So.
All right. I appreciate the comments, Thomas. Nancy, a couple of things that Thomas raises there surrounding the way that ICE has been operating. It's two big things that I think have been brought up a lot. One is, should they have more prominent identification, or should they identify themselves a little more clearly? There have been times when there's been some question about whether they're doing that. And then the other part is just training and whether or not they're being trained to de-escalate situations in the same way that other law enforcement officers are. Are you hearing any discussion of that in political circles these days?
Yes, Craig. And I would say, I don't know about you, but the first couple of times I watched the video with the temperatures, what they were in Minneapolis, I couldn't tell who were the ICE agents and who were the people. It was very confusing the first couple of times I watched it. So I'm sure for the people in the midst of it's a little confusing. The main identifying thing about an ICE agent in that situation is that their face is covered, right? So that's the main reason you know it's an ICE agent. And maybe on the back, their jackets say ICE, but you're not looking at the back. So, but I definitely think the issue of training is becoming louder and louder in Congress. And as you know, Congress has to pass a spending bill by Friday, and you're starting to hear people say they will not support it because of the funding for DHS, inadequate training, etc. So that is getting quite a bit noisier in the political discussions, and I think will escalate further this week.
Another example of potential split that may have come this weekend was when U.S. Attorney Bill Essayli said, if you approach law enforcement with a gun, there is a high likelihood they will be legally justified in shooting you. Don't do it. The National Rifle Association called that characterization dangerous and wrong. Politically speaking, moments like this certainly put strong Second Amendment advocates who tend to lean more conservatively between the administration and their values. We have a comment on YouTube, someone writing, even if he wasn't supposed to carry in a protest, he was already apprehended, and this clearly shows how untrained ICE officers are. So sort of combining the question of a weapon, whether or not somebody who may be legally holding a concealed carry, he had a concealed carry permit. His gun was concealed prior to this scuffle. There's that, and then there's also, again, the question of training. What do you make of that comment?
Well, I do think this is a very interesting moment in time when the Second Amendment's supporters and crowd and NRA, et cetera, have fought so hard across many states to get concealed carry, as we have in Texas, not even. You don't have to conceal your gun. So, it's an interesting political clash that will arise from this, because a lot of Second Amendment supporters support ICE and deportation. And they're going to find themselves in a difficult situation, because in this case, the man's weapon was concealed. He had not pulled his gun. So it really creates a fascinating policy observance to study how this will evolve.
Let's go next to Wayne in Southwest Houston. Wayne, what's your question or comment?
Well, if you vote Republican after these 2 days, you got to have your head examined. How in the hell can these black guys get in there and start killing innocent people? And it makes me so mad to see the good girl, the girl a couple of weeks ago got killed. Now this one.
Yeah.
When does it stop? I mean, God, get a grip on yourself, folks.
I hear you, Wayne. I apologize for cutting you off there. I can hear you're kind of ramped up there, and I hope that helped to talk about it. Nancy, your reaction to what you're hearing from Wayne there.
Well, I think you're hearing more and more Americans express their concern and despair at watching American citizens get shot on the street. Neither of these two people that got shot in Minneapolis were immigrants who were the primary target. They were just simple American citizens exercising their rights, though some will argue that point.
Yeah, I guess that's another piece in all of this, which is there are those who will look at it and say, well, you shouldn't be out there protesting, or you shouldn't be what one person's perception of protesting might be another person's perception of obstructing justice. I think we're starting to see some of that public debate play out as well.
Well, and I honestly think it doesn't help for the head of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, to just within minutes declare these people domestic terrorists. That further aggravates the political debate.
Let's bring this back to Houston, which has historically been seen as a welcoming city for immigrants. We also lead the nation in immigration arrests and detentions, or among the cities leading the nation in that. How do you see this tension playing out politically at the local level, especially as federal enforcement intensifies?
Well, you're not seeing, first off, let's clarify that figure about one of the highest deportations includes the whole Houston region, not just the city of. So I want to be clear, the city of's numbers are pretty low, all things considered, but it's the regional numbers that are escalating. For example, you have more arrests in Montgomery County than you do in Harris County. So that we need to be clear about that.
Right, thank you for clarifying.
Secondly, I think there have been, we're not seeing the protest of individuals and the public engagement with ICE agents that you're seeing in some of the other cities.
Mayor Whitmire seems to be an example of an elected official trying to sort of thread a needle here with the federal government. That, though, has led to ire from within his own party, is it not?
Mayor Whitmire can't seem to win which way he goes on this. If he doesn't cooperate with ICE, he risked funding for the city, and he's been fairly outspoken that Houston police are not searching for immigrants and not intentionally reporting them. However, there are a large number of people that would argue that point and say they can't trust HPD anymore. But Mayor Whitmire is trying to walk that fine line of, we help ICE when we run across a criminal record or an issued warrant. So, but I would say progressives are very angry with him over his position on this.
David writes, emails us saying, standard police process, any shooting of a gun, even without anyone shot, that the officer is put on administrative leave and investigated. David asks, is that happening with ICE? And I guess the initial answer to that question is we do not know.
That may be one of the most challenging aspects of this, Craig, is that ICE we aren't getting a clear outcome of what their internal investigations are showing. And as you may recall with the Renee Good shooting, it took several days before we got the name of the agent involved and any background on him. That appears to be the same here with the Pretti case. We don't yet know the name of the agent or agents. I mean, there were so many shots heard on the video. I can't tell who exactly was doing the shooting. So it is going to take a lot of people working to investigate that thoroughly.
Michael,
but as you mentioned, we may not know the outcome.
Right. Michael's on the line from Tomball. Michael, your thoughts this morning?
Well, I'm an INS agent from years ago, and I like to say that Houston used to be a sanctuary city when I first started in the 90s. I don't think it was an impediment to enforce immigration law. Secondly, after 9/11, law enforcement in general and immigration specifically has become more militarized with their tactics. And also, I just think things have gotten out of hand.
All right. Thanks for the call. We appreciate it. Yeah, it's an interesting perspective because we could easily mischaracterize current immigration and customs enforcement efforts, that we could conflate them with what the prior Immigration and Naturalization Service, INS, did back decades before. And I guess we are really seeing a shift in tactics and process as much as anything else, right?
Absolutely, we are. There is a definitely much more aggressive approach to capturing individuals. And we are seeing that play out. And I really appreciated his comment because that was very reflective of what has actually happened. Our ICE department has definitely become much more militaristic.
That said, I suspect there are some folks out there who might say, no, maybe the tactics haven't really changed, and there was a lot of this before. It's just we have video evidence today.
There's always that, Craig. I mean, that's changed America and our understanding of police enforcement, law enforcement across the board. But it is, I do think the tactics have changed from the early 2000s. I thought the gentleman's point was very well taken.
Let's take one more call. Anna's on the line in the Heights. Anna, what are your thoughts this morning?
Hi, thank you for having this program. I'm a longtime immigrant rights advocate and also worked for the ACLU of Texas in communications and for the Immigrant Justice Project for the Southern Poverty Law Center. But I wanted to bring it back home. Within a couple of blocks radius, I took a walk in the morning and I saw nannies taking care of babies, immigrants building homes, painting homes, they were doing landscaping, immigrants. America is built on the backs of immigrants is an op-ed that I wrote in the Houston Chronicle. And I just want to reiterate also that under the Constitution, we have the right to record. We have the right to protest. And I actually was at a recent protest that was the Houston Chronicle wrote about. And I was really heartened because Houston is the highest, as you said, the highest number of ICE arrests. However, there is a broad diversity of white, Black, Asian, South Asian, Latino that were there in the community to offer support. This was following Renee Good's murder in the street. And I think that what makes us different is that we are united, and we have to understand that our construction industry, all of our businesses are impacted when immigrants, even legal immigrants who have permits, are now being rescinded that. And these are dangerous times, but I just want to reiterate the importance of immigrants upon our economy.
All right, Anna, thank you very much for the comments. We appreciate it. Nancy, some final thoughts, taking into account her comments. What do you see as the stakes for Houston as this all plays out?
Well, the stakes are huge, and we're already seeing the financial impacts of immigration and its effect on Houston business. And I attended an economic projection luncheon last week, and you can tell the difference in our home building industry and our hospitality industry of what this immigration enforcement is causing to businesses in Houston. So I think Anna's point about, the dependence on immigrants in our service industries in particular is realistic, and it is becoming concerning, and it is beginning to have an impact on our economy.
If there is an implication for Houston that you think we ought to expand on further on a future program here on Houston Matters, we certainly welcome your thoughts about that or anything else related to this story. You can email us at talk@houstonmatters.org. Nancy Sims is a political science lecturer at the University of Houston. Nancy, thanks very much for the time.
Thanks, Craig.